In the boundless expanse where heaven and earth contend, where destiny is forged in blood and ambition, the path of cultivation grows ever more perilous. Ling Han has crossed blades with fate itself, standing at the threshold between power and annihilation. Yet in this vast world, even the strongest are but fleeting shadows before greater storms. In the previous chapters, schemes intertwined like serpents in the dark, and hidden forces stirred beneath the surface. Allies revealed their limits, enemies sharpened their fangs, and the fragile balance of power trembled on the brink of collapse. Each step forward now carries the weight of life and death, each decision echoing across the heavens. What secrets lie concealed within this unfolding storm? What trials await Ling Han as he presses onward against overwhelming odds? The flames of alchemy burn brighter, but so too do the dangers that threaten to consume all. Now, let us return to the legend. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao, Chapter 1253, Chapter 1254, and witness how fate continues to twist its relentless blade. When two blazing stars collide, even the heavens tremble. And on that day, the land itself bore witness to a clash that shattered mountains and shook the courage of all who dared to watch. Ling Han advanced like a relentless tide, every step pressing forward with unyielding dominance. Facing such ferocity, even Ao Ziyun, once hailed as invincible within his realm, was forced into retreat. The battlefield stretched endlessly beneath their feet. They fought as they moved, exchanging blows that cracked the earth and tore through the sky. Mountain after mountain crumbled into dust beneath the shockwaves of their clash. Jagged stones burst apart, cliffs split open, and valleys collapsed as if unable to endure the pressure of their power. Along the way, cultivators of the mountain river tier who happened upon this storm froze in sheer terror. Whether they hailed from the immortal realm or the netherworld, none dared linger. Faces pale, hearts pounding, they fled as far as they could. Even the slightest brush from the aftermath would not merely wound them, it would cripple them beyond recovery. This was not a battle they had the right to witness. Even experts of the Sun-Moon tier maintained a cautious distance, their expressions tense. They knew all too well. Approach too close, and even they might fall. Only those standing at the high extreme of the Sun-Moon tier dared to observe from nearer vantage points. Yet when they realized something that defied all logic, the two figures locked in battle were both merely at the low extreme of the Sun-Moon tier. Cold sweat broke out across even the faces of consummate-level elites. Such monsters. They would not need tens of thousands of years to surpass them. They would do so in mere centuries. Damn it! Ao Ziyun roared, his voice echoing like thunder across shattered peaks. His heart burned with fury. In the netherworld, at his cultivation level, he had stood unrivaled. There had only ever been one person who defeated him, and that opponent had been a peerless genius beyond reproach. Ao Ziyun had accepted that loss without bitterness. But now, another such monster had emerged. From the immortal realm, no less. "I am dissatisfied! I am dissatisfied!" he shouted, veins bulging across his forehead. Why? Why would the heavens give birth to someone like Ling Han, when a prodigy like himself already existed? Why burden him with this humiliation? Ling Han merely shook his head, calm as a still lake amidst the storm. "You think too highly of yourself," he said evenly. "The world is vast beyond your imagination. How many places have you truly seen? Of all things, the world lacks prodigies the least. Do not overestimate your own brilliance." His words carried no arrogance, only truth. He himself had only traversed 2 galaxies, yet had already encountered countless talents. Figures like He Tao and Wu Wentong, each one a legend of their generation. Had they stood on equal footing, none would be inferior to Ao Ziyun. And beyond that, endless realms, endless skies. Even eternal river tier cultivators could only explore a fraction of existence. Who could say how many monsters lurked in the shadows of this boundless universe? There would always be someone stronger. The line between confidence and arrogance was thinner than a strand of hair. Ao Ziyun's expression darkened. "Ling Han," he said through gritted teeth, "I admit that you are strong, but compared to the prodigies of my realm, you are still far from enough." He knew he could not defeat Ling Han. Even if he relied on divine seals or alchemical pills to force a victory, it would not be a triumph of his own strength, and for someone like him, that kind of victory was worse than defeat. He would only use such methods to survive, not to claim hollow glory. Yet now, this was no longer just about him. It was about the pride of two realms. He would not allow Ling Han to stand unchallenged. Oh? Ling Han smiled faintly. That's right. Ao Ziyun's voice rose, filled with fierce conviction. In my realm, there exists a supreme prodigy, Qi Huangji. He has cultivated for only 200 years and has already reached the pinnacle of the Sun Moon tier. His gaze burned with intensity. Compared to him, you are nothing more than a flicker of firefly light before the brilliance of the moon. There is no comparison. Ling Han almost laughed. If he was a firefly, then what did that make Ao Ziyun? Yet beneath his calm expression, a ripple of surprise stirred. 200 years. To reach the pinnacle of the Sun Moon tier, that was no ordinary feat. Among countless Sun Moon tier cultivators, only 1 in 10,000 could step into the heavenly body tier. And from those who reached the pinnacle, perhaps only 1 in 10,000 of those could truly break through. The difficulty was beyond imagination, like climbing to the heavens itself. And yet this Qi Huangji had reached that threshold in merely 2 centuries, which meant, if he wished, he could likely break through into the heavenly body tier within those same 200 years. Such talent was terrifying. Ling Han reflected inwardly. Though he had cultivated for only around 30 years in real time, he had repeatedly used the power of the reincarnation tree. Beneath it, a single day equaled a year of comprehension. In truth, the time he had spent cultivating had long surpassed 200 years. Perhaps, he mused, this Qi Huangji possessed a treasure akin to the Black Tower, something capable of accelerating time itself. After all, the small tower had once revealed. When the Black Tower fully recovered, time within it could flow at vastly different speeds. One day outside could become 10 days, a month, or even years within. Not merely mental acceleration, but the entire body. True cultivation. Ling Han chuckled softly. Advancing quickly in cultivation? That was not his greatest weapon. His true reliance was the indestructible body forged through the indestructible heaven scroll. But such a secret he had no intention of sharing. Very well, he said calmly. Then I will look forward to meeting this Qi Huangji. You will, Ao Ziyun declared. In 3 years, at the Two-Realm Prodigy Gathering, Qi Huangji will show you what true despair means. With that, he withdrew his spear. From his robes, he produced a divine seal and pressed it onto his body. In an instant, his speed surged explosively. Even when Ling Han activated the star-plucking step, he could barely keep pace. Ling Han halted. He did not pursue. Beyond this point lay the territory of the Netherworld. Who knew how many terrifying elites lay in wait? With his current strength, it was not enough. He stood still, slowly withdrawing the divine demon sword. A heavy pressure settled deep within his heart. If he wished to overthrow the 5 sects, he would need to reach at least the consummate level of the Sun Moon tier. Even then, raw combat strength alone would not suffice. The 5 sects had endured for countless years. Their hidden cards, their foundations, were beyond estimation. Only by reaching that level could he act with certainty. But Ling Han was patient. He had already endured so much. Waiting a few more years was nothing. Suddenly, shoo, shoo. Figures tore through the air, appearing one after another. Each one radiated immense power. All were at the consummate level of the Sun Moon tier. Their gazes locked onto Ling Han, killing intent undisguised. They were elites of the Netherworld. And in their eyes, Ling Han was a threat that could not be allowed to live. Too monstrous, too dangerous. If he were allowed to grow further, he would become a catastrophe for their realm. You're dreaming. Another group appeared, elites of the immortal realm. They had long sensed the disturbance and rushed over. Now, seeing the Netherworld's intent to eliminate Ling Han, they stepped forward without hesitation. Attack! The Netherworld elites shouted. No words were needed. For countless years, the two realms had clashed like fire and water. There was no room for restraint. Battle erupted instantly. Young man? Go! An immortal realm elite called out. In truth, none of them wished to engage in a battle where victory was uncertain. They had intervened not to destroy the enemy, but to protect Ling Han's life. To fight to the bitter end would cost them dearly, regardless of the outcome. After all, they had come to this battlefield not only for war, but for merit, for resources, for survival. Who would willingly gamble their life? Thus, once Ling Han left, the battle would lose its purpose. Ling Han nodded. Without hesitation, he activated the star-plucking step. His figure blurred, then vanished like a shooting star into the horizon. Just as the Immortal Realm elites had failed to stop Aozian, the Netherworld elites now failed to stop Ling Han. As he sped across the land, wind roaring past his ears, a single thought echoed in his mind. Too weak. His current cultivation level was still too low. If he did not find a way to advance quickly, then in 3 years, at the Two-Realm Prodigy Gathering, he would not stand a chance against Qi Huangji. The path ahead was clear, and time was already running out. The moment the encirclement shattered, silence followed. Ling Han stood amidst the fading echoes of battle, his expression calm, his breathing steady. Confidence radiated from him, not the reckless arrogance of the young, but the quiet certainty of one who knew his own strength. He did not leave. Instead, he waited. Time passed like drifting clouds, until at last 2 familiar figures approached, the old ginseng and the rabbit. Only then did Ling Han speak. "Rabbit," he said lightly, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Do you want to go somewhere? Interesting?" The rabbit blinked, ears twitching. "Interesting? What kind of place?" Ling Han did not answer directly. He simply laughed, and in the next instant, his hand moved. The old ginseng vanished first, swallowed instantly into the black tower. Before the rabbit could even react, Ling Han grabbed him as well and stepped forward. Space twisted. The world shifted. And in a heartbeat, they were gone. This place! What kind of place is this?" The rabbit's voice exploded with disbelief. His eyes widened to their absolute limits, his entire body trembling as he stared at the surroundings. The air itself carried an indescribable aura, something vast, something ancient, something beyond comprehension, a spatial god tool. Even in his wildest dreams, he had never imagined standing inside one. Ling Han only chuckled, completely unconcerned by the rabbit's shock. "There," he said casually, pointing ahead. "Go cultivate there." Without further explanation, he tossed the rabbit directly beneath the reincarnation tree. He didn't bother to say anything more. Some things were better experienced firsthand. Not long after, a loud commotion erupted. The rabbit's voice rang out again, this time filled with pure, unfiltered astonishment. Under that divine tree, the Tao itself seemed to whisper. Understanding deepened. Comprehension surged, and in that moment, a terrifying possibility struck him. If he could continue like this, if he could truly grasp the Tao beneath such a tree, then perhaps, even the Genesis tier might not be an impossible dream. Ling Han heard it all, and only smiled. Let them marvel. Let them lose themselves in awe. For now, he had something far more important to consider. With a thought, he summoned the small tower. Floating before him, the tiny tower remained as indifferent as ever. Ling Han's gaze sharpened. "Is there a way," he asked directly, "to quickly remove the alchemic poison inside my body?" The small tower sank slightly as if considering. Then, "Yes." A single word, but to Ling Han, it struck like thunder. His eyes lit up instantly. "Tell me, what do I need to do?" If the poison could be eliminated faster, then his path would accelerate. Sun Moon tier consummation. Pinnacle level. Peak of the pinnacle. Everything would come within reach in a fraction of the time. The small tower's voice remained calm. "The 4th level of the Black Tower has already been unlocked. Once every 3 months, it can release divine flame to temper your body." A pause. "Then, under that flame, everything within you will be completely burned." Ling Han's cheek twitched involuntarily. That did not sound reassuring. Yet, this was not the first time he had heard of such a thing. Long ago, the small tower had mentioned the existence of a divine flame for body refinement. Only it had never brought it up again. And over time, Ling Han had nearly forgotten. Now, hearing it once more, he frowned slightly. "Will I be in danger?" The small tower did not hesitate. "Yes," a single word, cold, direct, absolute. "If you fail to endure it, you will be reduced to nothing. Not even ashes will remain. You will be completely erased." A faint pause. "And I will no longer have to tolerate an idiotic master like you." Ling Han's expression darkened instantly. "This damn Sundere Tower, does it have to insult me every time it opens its mouth?" He took a breath, suppressing the urge to argue, then asked again. "Why didn't you tell me about this earlier?" The small tower responded without emotion. "You were eager to die?" Then, after a brief silence, Originally, I intended to wait until you reached the heavenly body tier. At that time, your body would be more stable, and the tempering would elevate your physique to an entirely new level. Hearing this, Ling Han was stunned, then pleasantly surprised. So you mean my physique can improve even further? Beyond surpassing 2 minor levels? The small tower replied calmly. Surpassing 2 minor levels is exaggerated. However, you will indeed become significantly stronger. A brief pause. And more importantly, being refined by divine flame will grant you the possibility of rebirth. Ling Han's eyes sharpened. Rebirth. Those 2 words carried immense weight. Without hesitation, his expression turned resolute. No need to think further, he said firmly. I'll undergo the divine flame tempering. In the lower realm, his body had surpassed his cultivation by an entire major tier. He had been invincible, unbreakable. Even those stronger than him had struggled to harm him. But here, in the immortal realm, everything was different. Now, his physique only exceeded others by a minor level. That was not enough. Danger lurked everywhere. As long as an opponent possessed battle prowess exceeding 4 stars, they could injure him. And 5-star prodigies, though spoken of like legends, did exist after all. He himself was one, which meant the chance of encountering others like him was far from zero. Thus, his current strength was no longer absolute. Only impressive, and that was not acceptable. He needed more, far more. Then, a thought struck him. Why is it called rebirth from ashes? The small tower answered slowly. You will cultivate the indestructible flame of life. Like the immortal phoenix, you will rise again through destruction. Ling Han's eyes flickered. Immortal phoenix? Not the true phoenix? A faint scoff echoed. Compared to the immortal phoenix, the true phoenix is insignificant. Ling Han was stunned. Even the true phoenix? Insignificant? What kind of existence was this immortal phoenix? And the indestructible heaven scroll relies on such beings? He asked. The small tower's tone carried a rare trace of pride. Primal chaos origin beast, 1,000 transformations tortoise, diamond ant. These are supreme existences of the celestial realm. They were refined, fused, and elevated by a heavenly venerable to create the indestructible heaven scroll. A pause. The most important aspect is the heavenly venerable's comprehension of ultimate regulations. That is its true essence. Ling Han nodded slowly. He did not fully understand. Not yet. But that didn't matter. All he needed to know was this. The indestructible heaven scroll was the strongest, and that was enough. Then let's begin, he said. Voice firm, power. He needed it. To overturn the 5 sects. To stand tall at the 2-realm prodigy gathering in 3 years. To face Qi Huangji. He could not hesitate. The small tower spoke again, more serious than before. Think carefully. If you fail, you will be erased completely. With your talent, survival at the Sun Moon tier is possible, but the risk is extremely high. If you wait until the heavenly body tier, your chances will greatly increase. Ling Han laughed. If you say it's possible, then I believe I can succeed. The small tower paused, then nodded. I will give you 3 days. Study the indestructible heaven scroll thoroughly. Every detail must be understood completely. This will determine whether you live or die. After that, everything depends on your will. If your resolve falters, you will be consumed by the flame. Ling Han closed his eyes. Understood. He sat beneath the reincarnation tree, time lost meaning. The Tao flowed like an endless river. The indestructible heaven scroll unfolded within his mind. Every line, every principle, every hidden truth engraved into his being. 3 days passed. Then more. 5 days. Within this sacred place, it was equivalent to 5 years of comprehension. At last, Ling Han opened his eyes. Clarity burned within them. Let's begin. His voice was low, steady, unshakable. The small tower transported him far away. A new space unfolded, and there, a massive cauldron stood, ancient, vast. Its presence carried the weight of countless eras. Ling Han frowned. Where did this come from? His gaze narrowed. Small tower, just how many things are you hiding from me? Silence. No answer. He raised his voice. I'm talking to you. A pause. Then, oh, were you? The small tower replied lazily. I didn't hear you. Ling Han's face darkened. He repeated his question. But again, the small tower acted as if it hadn't heard. Only then did Ling Han realize. It wasn't that it couldn't hear. It simply didn't want to answer. Damn it, he muttered. Then, the small tower trembled slightly. The the cauldron lid opened, and in that instant, boom! Flames erupted, ferocious, violent. They surged into the sky like enraged dragons, devouring everything in sight. Compared to this, Aozyun's black flames were nothing but flickering sparks. Ling Han's pupils shrank, a chill crept up his spine. Jumping into that, there would be no survival, only annihilation. Was this truly tempering? Or a path to death? The small tower's voice rang out, grave and unwavering. Remember, the only thing that can save you is the indestructible Heaven's Scroll. You must circulate it continuously. Forget everything else. Do not attempt to resist the flame, because resistance is impossible. Ling Han's heart trembled. Then, the final words fell, heavy as the heavens themselves, because these are not divine flames, they are immortal flames.